Brescia is a professor of law at Albany Law School and the author of Lawyer Nation, the Past, Present, and Future of the American Legal Profession. Thank you so much for being here with us this morning. So I want to start with the January 6th ruling. What impact do you think it'll have?
Well, thank you for having me this morning. Well, it could have a number of impacts. There are certainly people who have been prosecuted and found guilty under this statute and already, and they are certain to appeal their convictions. There are people with prosecutions pending against them, and the charges under that provision are likely to be dropped. And then there's the former president himself. This is a part of the prosecution against him, and that is certainly those elements of the charges, although they're not the only charges against him, are likely to face some challenge in the lower courts. Should that case proceed, we'll know on Monday how and if the case against the former president will proceed when the Supreme Court should issue its ruling on the immunity claim, the broad immunity claim sought by the former president. So those people who have been prosecuted and found guilty under this statute, it's my understanding that they may face renewed charges, different charges. So it's not exactly clear right now that dozens or even hundreds of people will be released from prison because of this ruling, but it certainly takes a tool out of the toolbox of the prosecutors seeking to bring individuals involved in the storming of the Capitol, to justice. So, it remains to be seen, though, whether there are going to be a large number of people who are simply released because of this ruling. I don't think that's going to happen.
All right. I want to ask you about another massive ruling. This is the Chevron decision. This will now limit the power of federal agencies. The impact on this, I believe, it's one of the most cited in American law. Some 70 Supreme Court decisions were based on it. So some 17,000 lower court decisions. So overturning it, I mean, what impact could it have on regulating things like healthcare and the environment?
Oh, it's going to make it much, much more difficult for agencies to regulate healthcare and the environment, among other things. As you said, this case has been cited thousands of times. It is an important um, power, if you would, that agencies have to interpret statutes, and the ruling from the 1980s that said that agencies are entitled to some deference when a statute might be ambiguous or it's not exactly clear what Congress's intent might have been. That we should give agencies some deference in doing their job, playing the role of protector of the air and the water and investors. And now, there's a good chance that they will be hamstrung in their efforts to protect the American people in many different areas. Some people may think that's a good thing, that agencies should have their powers curtailed, but it really shifts, um, the the power of the federal government to do a lot of things from the executive branch, which is supposed to enforce the laws, to the judiciary, which will now, oversee virtually every act of a federal agency, or at least has the potential to, if people challenge agency regulations.
So before we go, I want to ask you about this because this will affect a great number of American cities and many people as well. The Supreme Court will allow cities to ban homeless camps. I mean, there are about 500,000 homeless people in the U.S. 40% of them, I understand, sleep outside in places like under bridges and parks and so on. So, what do you think this decision will do?
Well, it doesn't automatically mean that every jurisdiction can now in effect criminalize homelessness. What it did is it authorized local governments to pass ordinances that ban sleeping in public, and certainly that includes homeless encampments, and as you say, sleeping under bridges and things like that. But it gives those local communities that want to do that the power to do that, and it's really it's understandable that local governments are struggling to meet the problem of the unhoused in the United States. It is a serious problem that we have in the country, but in places where there aren't opportunities for people to get shelter, and this is something that the dissent by Justice Sotomayor points out. In places where a local government isn't trying to provide shelter and has enough shelter beds for the unhoused. So then, on the other hand, to say, well, you can't sleep outside, I'm not sure what people are supposed to do. So
Yeah.
it's a terrible problem,
Yeah.
limiting local government's powers in this way wouldn't be the end of the world,
Yeah.
but it is going to give them the power to do just that.
Yeah, so many important decisions came through. And then, of course, Monday we have the possibly momentous decision on Trump's claim of absolute immunity. We'll look forward to breaking that down. Really appreciate having your expertise on this. Ray Brescia, thank you so much.